You have no idea how loud your silence can be until the entire room goes quiet just to hear what you're not saying. There's a kind of power that doesn't shout, it doesn't explain, it doesn't justify. It simply enters a room and everything shifts. Have you ever watched someone walk in and instantly command attention without uttering a single word? It's not luck, not charisma, and definitely not noise. It's presence, a quiet, invisible force that says, I don't need to prove anything. I already am. This is the power Nietzsche understood, the power of restraint, of mystery, of self-mastery. In a world that glorifies noise, what if I told you that your greatest weapon is silence? That you can dominate a room, win an argument, and command respect, all without uttering a single word. This isn't about manipulation or trickery. It's about embodying a truth so deeply that words become unnecessary. This is how to win any situation without saying a word, Nietzsche style. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly." This wasn't just philosophy, it was strategy. What he meant was that real power doesn't explain itself to those who don't understand it. It doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. It doesn't seek validation. It simply is. And the moment you stop trying to be understood, you become unstoppable. Think about the people who constantly explain themselves, who try to prove their worth in every conversation. They're not convincing others. They're convincing themselves. And Nietzsche believed that if you know your value, you don't need to talk about it. In fact, the more you talk, the less people believe you. But silence? Silence says, I have nothing to prove. And that's intimidating. In the animal kingdom, the loudest is often the weakest. It's the silent predator, the lion, the eagle, the snake, that holds the most danger. In human nature, it's no different. The one who speaks the least, the one who waits, who watches, who listens, often holds the most power. Silence, when used right, can pierce through a room like lightning. It is presence. It is poise. It is control. But silence must begin within. You can't fake it. You can't pretend to be calm when your mind is racing. You can't look composed when your thoughts are chaotic. Nietzsche famously said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." When you know why you're here, your purpose, your silence becomes intentional. You stop chasing noise. You stop reacting emotionally. You let your presence speak louder than your words. The chaos you feel internally shows up in how you talk, how you move, how you respond. But once you learn to sit with yourself, in your pain, your uncertainty, your stillness, you unlock a new dimension of power. A kind of power that doesn't react, doesn't flinch, and doesn't seek to be liked. That's where your real dominance begins. Inside. With you. And silence, when practiced intentionally, becomes a filter. Nietzsche believed that silence separates the wise from the foolish. He wrote, "The surest way to corrupt a youth is to instruct him to hold in higher esteem those who think alike than those who think differently. And nothing reveals a person faster than letting them speak. Stay silent, and they'll expose themselves, their ego, their insecurity, their ignorance. You don't even need to interrupt. Just watch. This is how you win, by letting others show you their hand while you keep yours hidden. In poker, silence is strategy. In war, silence is stealth. In life, silence is leverage. Every word you say is a commitment. It's an opening, a risk. But when you say nothing, when you listen, when you breathe, when you wait, you create a space others fill with their own truths. You hold the upper hand. And there's a reason this works, because people are uncomfortable with silence. They interpret it. They project onto it. They fill it with assumptions. That's why it's powerful, because it forces others to confront their own noise while you stay composed. You don't just win, you dominate. And not through force, but through control. But control does not mean repression. It means knowing when to act and when not to. Nietzsche warned us, whoever fights monsters should see to it that in the process he does not become a monster. Reacting emotionally, impulsively, out of ego, it makes you just like the chaos around you. But responding with calm silence, that elevates you. This is why the most powerful leaders in history were calm. They didn't shout. They didn't plead. They didn't perform. They simply decided. Their silence was not submission. It was calculation. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of strength. And when you don't flinch, when you don't argue, when you don't rush to respond, the world takes notice. True presence is felt, not heard. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need permission. It walks into a room and subtly rearranges the atmosphere. That's what you must aim for. Don't ask, how can I be more liked? Ask, how can I be more aligned? Align your body, your energy, your purpose. Walk tall. Move slowly. Make deliberate eye contact. Speak only when it adds value, not noise. Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, or overman, is not someone who dominates others. It's someone who dominates himself. Someone who no longer needs validation, who writes his own rules, who stands above the herd, not out of arrogance, but out of evolution. That's what you must become. Not louder, not tougher, but clearer. When you become the Übermensch, you don't need to explain your worth. You live it. You walk into a job interview, a date, a meeting, and your presence answers questions before they're asked. Because the truth is, most people aren't looking for information. They're looking for energy. And energy doesn't lie. There's also power in withdrawal. Silence doesn't only mean stillness. Sometimes it means disappearance. Nietzsche himself would often disappear into solitude, to think, to reflect, to create. Because absence increases value. When you're constantly available, people take you for granted. But when you withdraw, strategically, they start to notice your presence through your absence. This is a form of psychological jujitsu. You don't push harder, you pull away. And when you return, when you speak, your words matter more. You reset the dynamic. You control the narrative. People chase mystery. They remember silence. They forget noise. Now, let's talk about how this plays out practically. In a job interview, let your stillness and attentiveness show your confidence. Don't rush to fill silence. Use it to make your answers impactful. Ask meaningful questions. And when you pause after a response, it forces the other person to sit with what you just said. In conflict, let others over-explain. Let them fume. You remain calm, grounded. And when you do respond, your words cut deeper because they come from clarity. In relationships, stop proving yourself. Your value isn't in what you say. It's in what you live. Actions, habits, standards. These say more than 1,000 speeches. And when it comes to influence, Speak less. Observe more. You'll start to notice patterns. You'll start to see beneath the surface. That's when you start to win. We live in a world obsessed with content, with being heard, seen, followed. But Nietzsche challenges us. Why do you need to be heard so badly? If your truth is powerful, it doesn't need an audience. It just needs embodiment. Let others argue about what's right. You might go out and live it. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Words are cheap. They're easy. Anyone can say anything. But energy? That takes work. That takes mastery. And energy never lies. The most powerful people walk into a room and change the temperature. Not with words, but with presence. This is the essence of the Nietzschean ideal. The man or woman who doesn't seek to be accepted, but to be authentic. Who doesn't try to impress, but to express. Who doesn't need to shout, because they've already won the moment they showed up. So be that person. Practice silence not as a passive gesture, but as a deliberate discipline. Sit in stillness. Train your body language. Master your reactions. Speak less. Observe more. And when you do speak, speak with precision, not performance. Remember Nietzsche's timeless words. Become who you are. You don't need permission. You don't need to argue. You don't need to prove anything. You need to become. And when you do, when you show up fully, silently, powerfully, every situation becomes one you can win. Because in the end, the loudest thing in any room is the person who says nothing at all.